Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Hey guys, our Series 8 sponsors are Floret. They're a farmer-owned cooperative who believe in selecting only the finest, freshest salad mixes, delivering the best salads naturally full of flavour. Did you know their salad bags can be recycled at supermarket soft plastic recycling areas as well? Why not create all kinds of recipes with salad leaves, but how will you make your dish unfloretable?
So kicking off Series 8 of the podcast, our guest on the show today is the ever smiling, she's literally sitting here smiling right now, floral dressing, get down and dirty gardener August, known as August Garden to her over 100,000 Instagram followers. August is here to tell us about her career change from flying high to down to earth and her work at Belmond Le Manoir, owned by the great Raymond Blanc. I think this is going to be an excellent start to Series 8. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting, especially when people actually want to listen to me talking about vegetables. That to me is just, my husband gets so bored. So the more people that want to listen to me, I'm like, oh, amazing.
No, I think you're great. I think you're absolutely infectious. Yeah, so we really want to welcome you to the podcast. Great way to kick off the new series. But where are you recording the podcast episode from today? Are you on the you have to be honest.
I was in the gym, in the changing room, but I think that the changing room door was a little bit big for the Wi-Fi. So now I'm sitting outside the gym. So I'm not actually doing anything in the gym.
What I want to know is it you who's been in the gym, or is it someone else and you're just hanging out waiting for them to finish in the gym?
Well, actually, I'm sitting around the pool reading. I'm doing a degree at the moment, so I'm sitting around the pool studying at the gym, which I think is a better use of time, because the gym to me is actually a waste of time because I get my gym workout in the garden. So I'd rather use that downtime to be able to study.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, we're looking forward to finding out more and about what you're studying shortly. And I thought I would just quickly mention that also, before we get into it, is that many of our listeners would have already heard you on the podcast because you've been a contributor before in a previous series. So it's really nice to have you back as a full-on guest as well. So a familiar voice, that's for sure. But let's go back to the very beginning. We want to know about the high-flying career pre-horticulture. What did you used to do?
Well, I think literally my whole world has turned upside down from working in the sky as an air hostess for 20 years, I think it was. So I was travelling all over the world, and that was kind of, when I was little, that was the only thing I ever wanted to do, was be an air hostess. So I suppose at the age of 19, I applied. And I worked for Virgin Atlantic, and I got in straight away and I loved it. And I never had any intentions of leaving. And I would say it was sort of an incredible job that took me all over the world. And I've had some of the most incredible experiences. So I suppose where I am now, if you'd have told me 5 years ago that I would be teaching gardening, talking about growing carrots, I literally would have chased you down the aisle with my teapot because I'd have been, don't be ridiculous. There's no way. I was really that person that said, every plant I touch dies. There's always one, isn't there? And that was me. So, it's been a real roller coaster, I suppose, over the last I only started growing 5 years ago. So it's been an incredible journey. Very fun.
So what on earth happened? Because I see this not as a career change, but almost a career switch. completely in the other direction. What happened? You woke up one day and you just were thinking of carrots, or what happened? Be honest.
I think actually I've done a couple of talks and I talk about it a lot, but I never really talk about probably what started my, I would say, obsession with produce and vegetables and growing and things like that. And I would imagine really, and I look back and think that over 20 years of traveling, and you can never, I don't know, you two travel quite a lot, don't you? And I don't know how you find it, go into a hotel, the room service menu is usually shocking. And there's like one carrot that they put as a token vegetable on the side. So I think that my beginning journey was that I'd go all over the world and I'd be trying to find somewhere that I could find a salad or something that tasted nice. And that became more of an obsession to me, going to find healthy restaurants. And like Ellen, I know you're vegan, and it's trying to find that produce and it becomes really hard and becomes a part of daily life. So I kind of lived out of a suitcase for 20 years. So when I opened my first packet of seeds and grew my first vegetable, I think that the connection that I'd had for all those years of craving healthy vegetables really was like, oh my goodness, I have just grown that. And it was just like this overwhelming feeling like, I don't actually need to go and try and find vegetables all over the world when I can just grow them myself. And there's nothing to me more magical than walking outside your back door with that basket and filling it up with everything that you've grown yourself. It's just, I think it's just, to me, that is just the whole magic of it, really. And that kind of, so say about 5 years ago, I opened my first packet of seeds and we'd moved into a house where I had a bit of space and I started growing things, but everything died and I couldn't quite work out what I was doing wrong. And I think it's very much, in lots of supermarkets or garden centres, they sell produce that you can grow, like the plugs, maybe at the wrong time of year. And there's not that much information on pests, diseases or anything like that. So when I planted my first cabbages, I couldn't understand why they just disappeared overnight. And they looked like a lacy pair of pants because they had so many holes in them. They didn't distinguish a cabbage anymore. They literally looked like, I don't even know what they look like. So my husband bought me this vegetable planning guide and it answered all my questions. And it was like, I don't know, it was like one of those dun, dun, dun moments. Like
a light bulb moment.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And yeah, it's kind of like, oh, right, I can understand how nature works. And at the beginning, hand on my heart, I did use like sprays, chemicals, things like that, because I didn't know any different. And I would say my life pre-growing was pretty unsustainable. I wouldn't say I recycled or anything like that. So I think that this journey's not only helped me in the garden world, but also while gardening, you find these beautiful, frogs, toads, and then you realise what they do for your vegetable patch. Like, they come and eat all the slugs and the snails. So rather than screaming and running halfway across the vegetable garden, I kind of started looking at them with a different eye and thinking, oh, actually, you're helping me. I want you here. And I think it's all the interrelationships that go around the art of growing your own became an obsession, really. And that was sort of the beginning.
We've figured that out for sure. But you're right. When you open your first packet of seeds and you don't really know what you're doing, there's such a small amount of information out there, although there's more now, about why you shouldn't do certain things like using pesticides, and that why you want to encourage creatures into the garden that you wouldn't know before. And I think you go on a bit of a journey when you start gardening. You don't know that first, and I don't think I've seen people who've just maybe started taking on their allotment and in the first year, and I can see they've used a spray or something. And I don't hate them for it, because they don't know any different. So it's like up to us and those with a bit more experience to kind of educate in a gentle way without patronising and without judgment, of what might be a better practice for everyone. But I love that journey that you go through. You've kind of just nailed it, really. Do you know what I mean? That kind of feeling of, wow, I grew that. And when you were saying before about craving vegetables, room service and hotel food in general when you're traveling, when you're vegan, is a nightmare. So it's like a bit of a joke that sometimes if I'm away in various hotels, it's like fries and salad for like days. And I
for a
crave
vegan,
broccoli. I crave broccoli. Like, I don't know what it is. If I've had a few days of not being able to eat like properly, it's like all I want to do is just eat broccoli.
Oh, you know, I feel that. I used to land home from a flight and think, I just want to eat a giant cauliflower. Just that's it, on a plate. Just no more fried food. Just something nice and healthy and wonderful. And it is. I think we're getting back more there now, where you go everywhere and they have these really nice sort of healthy options and things. But I think, you know, there's still places where it's so difficult.
Yeah, it is. I agree. So growing your own definitely helps. Like, it can supplement. If not, if you've got enough space and time, you could perhaps even grow your whole diet. But like, realistically, with space and time, that can't always happen. But supplementing, it's amazing. So, you know, August, now gardening or horticulture in general is like your full-time job. You're creating content. You work at Belmond Le Manoir as well, and you've got your little packs of seeds for children. Is that the Seed Explorers?
Seed Explorers, yes.
Seed Explorers. And you also you help with a little garden for kids as well, don't you? Tell us all about it. Like, what are you doing now? Like, what's your week like?
Honestly, I think last week I was at breaking point. I don't know if you two ever feel like that, but I think because there's so many things going on, because I'm passionate about everything in horticulture. I just love, and you can't spread yourself everywhere. But I suppose my journey kind of very much began when I went to Le Manoir for lunch, and I walked into that vegetable garden. It was only 3.5 years ago, and I was quite self-taught at that point. And I walked into the vegetable gardens, and I know you've been there, Ellen, and it is just, oh my goodness, like the gardens are overflowing with squashes, pumpkins, and it's just like walking into an edible wonderland. And I kind of walked into this veg patch and I thought, I need to be here. And I hadn't had any experience in gardening before. And I went up and asked if I could volunteer, and they didn't have any volunteers. But they gave me Anne-Marie Owens, who is our head gardener, her card. And I just sort of went away and didn't think of anything of it. And then I went to San Fran that week and I couldn't sleep. And I thought, I'm going to Google gardening jobs. And the first job that came along was a kitchen gardener at Le Manoir. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so weird. So I texted it to my husband thinking, oh my goodness, she's going to think she's gone bananas again. And he said, go for it. I was like, okay. So I did. Oh. And I turned up for my interview looking like a full-on air hostess. So like with the hair, makeup, heels and everything like that.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah, and I remember all the garden team looking at me as if to say, what the hell has turned up for an interview? And I didn't think any of them thought I was ever going to last, and here I am. So since joining, I studied horticulture, left flying, went to college, studied horticulture, and then really had my eyes set on teaching the Raymond Blanc Garden School. So in the meantime, I started working at a school in Hayes where I've created a kitchen garden, a no-dig kitchen garden for the kids to like really connect with nature and learn. And, you know, all my children were saying, I don't eat vegetables. And I was kind of like, okay, so hands up, who eats chips? Oh, everybody. Hands up, anybody that eats crisps? Oh, everyone. So actually, kids, yes, you do eat vegetables because your chips and your crisps come from a potato. So it's been really interesting. And now they walk around the garden picking edible flowers, giving it to their friends. And that kind of, to me, is just pure magic in itself. And then I was lucky enough to go for the role of garden school tutor, and I got that. So now I'm head tutor of the Raymond Blanc Garden School. So I get to teach our guests at Le Manoir all about the beautiful produce that we cook, our micros, and the importance of that connection from seed to plate, and also soil. I mean, I think to me, that's one of the most important parts because that's where it all comes from. So I try and really emphasize a lot on soil, nature, and the whole sort of biodiversity ecosystem that goes around the gardens of Le Manoir. And hopefully that inspires guests to go away and grow, or they go away thinking I've got a really big headache.
I just want to know. I want to make sure that you don't do any of this still in your heels, because you would be sinking into that perfect soil there. That's for sure.
Oh, that would be amazing. But no, I am work boots all the way. I think my heels went out in the rubbish. I can't wear heels anymore.
When I went to Belmond Le Manoir, that was 3 or 4 years ago now. 3 years, I think. 4 years, I don't know.
Yeah, 3 years, I think it was.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And it was my friend's 40th birthday. So we were there having food and some cocktails. And I was like, I just got to go over there to the garden. And they're like, aren't you going to come in and have cocktails? I was like, yeah, later. And I was hours later, just walking around. And it's just a magical place to be. It's so beautiful. And I knew you were working there because obviously you'd said and we'd been in touch about it. And I was so not jealous. Jealous is not the word. What's the word? That's not jealous. But I was like thinking of you working there, like, wow, this is just what an amazing place to work.
Incredible.
Envious, but in a nice way. Like, I'm so happy for you that you.
When you don't want to kill someone through jealousy, that's
yeah,
good
envious. Because like it's just.
You don't want to stick a fork in my head.
No, I definitely don't want to do that. No, and I just like it's just so beautiful. Like, what an amazing place to work, and the change of career for you. I think this is a real this is obviously this episode is largely about career change, and this is such an amazing example of that. Like, you have literally gone from one extreme in the sky bang down to earth. Like it's such an extreme change. It's amazing.
Oh, it's been such an incredible journey. And I think to have that passion and then to be able to be somewhere like Le Manoir, which to me, the reason I wanted to be there was because I think it is one of the most beautiful gardens in the country. And everything's not to that show-stopping perfection. It's a real working garden, and we have the same problems as everybody else. We wake up in the morning and the pigeons, we must have the fattest pigeons on the face of the planet. They're like Michelin star fed pigeons. They're like these giant great big birds. I've never seen anything so big. But and being able to be there and learn, and also to me the most wonderful part is you wake up in the morning straight in picking those massive great big courgette flowers and then doing the morning harvest, and by 10 o'clock we're taking it up to the kitchens, and then to see what those chefs create in those kitchens is just incredible. And I think that I'm really lucky to be able to see that whole process from seed to plate, I think, and to be able to teach that as well. So I think it's just wonderful. And I think obviously Raymond is such a huge part of Le Manoir, and just seeing his passion and drive and what he's created from being completely self-taught is inspirational in itself. And when I spend time with him, I can just see myself in him, like how he feels about his cooking and the gardens and the produce is just how I feel. So I think that you're surrounded by this family of people at Le Manoir who are so passionate about everything they do, and then we sort of interconnect throughout our daily life at Le Manoir and create something what I think is quite magical.
Yeah, I have to just say, like, we were just complaining about hotel food, especially like for vegan food as well, but the plant-based food at Le Manoir was mind-blowingly good. Like, the flavors were absolutely incredible, and our friends who aren't vegans said, oh, you're going to be missing out because we're going to have all nice food, and I'm like, that's just never going to happen. And
that's a stupid thing for them to say as well.
Lots of people say that, but anyway, regardless, when I got our food, it was absolutely the flavors were epic. It was so clever and complex, but not, and just every course was fabulous. You could taste the fresh veg.
Oh, I mean, it's an experience, isn't it? I think it's not just about food. It's, to me, the whole of it is the story and the passion and the love, and you can see it on the plate. I think and they're so, like, the chefs are just as passionate about the produce as we are out in the garden. I think you can feel it and you can taste it.
Hello everyone, I am thrilled to have been asked by Michael and Ellen to join you all on the Plant-Based podcast. I am Old House in the Shires over on Instagram and TikTok, although my adult children do call me Old Woman in the Shires, but you can all call me Sophie. Really pleased to be here. So, a little about me. Let me introduce you to me and what I do. So, I used to be a primary school teacher teaching in Bath. I was very happy at my job. I taught little children and special needs. And then in March 2020, we all got locked down and I got COVID. I didn't know it was COVID, but I was actually really poorly. This changed to long COVID. And to cut a long story short, it is a long story, 2 years later, I am finally recovered. During that time, and it was very difficult, there were days when literally getting out of bed was really tough. But I love flowers. And so in 2020 and 2021, because I was still poorly at that point, I grew every flower I could think of from seed. Just sowing one seed. That was a daily task for me. And anyone with a long-term illness will understand that. The mindfulness of that task just takes you away from your illness for that short amount of time. And I grew lots of flowers and I shared that journey on Instagram. Not so much my illness. I didn't want to be telling everyone what a bad day I was having. I just showed the development of a cutting garden, growing from seed, and helping people with tips and tricks and hacks. And then since January really, of this year, I'm feeling a lot better. So I'm delving into everything. So if anyone asked me to do anything, for example, when Michael asked me to join you all, I said, yes, please, I will do that. And I'm thrilled. So recently, my friend Helia from Garden Goddess UK and I have started seed sowing courses. So we've started a biennials one, which is running at the moment. And then we're going to be starting one on hardy annuals, if anyone out there is interested. It is online in private Facebook groups. Anyway, what am I doing in my garden? Well, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to be asked by Michael and Ellen to share that with you as we go through these podcasts. So at the moment, I'm just trying to keep my biennials alive. Honestly, it's so hot in Wiltshire in the UK, which is where I am at the moment. And we've got, I think, 32 forecasts for this weekend, which is, well, melting weather as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just trying to keep things alive at the moment. Anyway, that's a little bit about me. I hope you enjoy my rambles as this podcast continues. And thanks again to Michael and Ellen for the opportunity. Bye.
I just want to ask before we move on, did you ever grow anything when you were younger? Like when you were a child, did you have a little patch or a houseplant? Or because it feels like, growing just came to you almost as an epiphany.
I know.
You've got no history
definitely.
of growing
No, I remember doing like a cress head at school, like that old one where you do it in the egg thing. I remember seeing my granddad in the greenhouse, but never really got that involved with it. And I never had any passion, but I'm very creative. And I think that I bring out sort of my creative side within the garden by using the plants as my sort of art, my paint, and the soil is my canvas. So I feel like that's how my creative sides come out in that instead, really. But it was a weird...
all the more inspirational as a career switcher. I'm so proud of you anyway,
thank you. Switcher, I like that.
It totally does. Yeah,
well,
it really does.
What would you say, because now, obviously, you've got your job, you're doing content creation. What do you like doing the most at the moment? The teaching or...
as long as my biggest thing is probably sharing my passion. So when I get to do things like this, or when I'm teaching my garden school, I've got a workshop tomorrow evening, and it is that connection with people as well. So I think that's where my hospitality side comes in, that not just talking about gardening, but sharing that passion. And to me, the biggest gift is that if I have a garden school or do a workshop and somebody goes away and is inspired by something that I've said, or, an idea that I've maybe sort of put across, or we've come to, I think as well with my garden school, I try and get everybody to bring in their experiences as well, because we can all learn from each other. So I think if people go off and they're inspired about gardening, and to have a love like I do, that to me is what drives me and what I love the most about all of it.
Mm-hmm. That was such a diplomatic answer. I love it.
That's very good. With such a massive career change, you've had an amazing career. Were you with Virgin? Am I right?
Yes.
You flew with Virgin, yeah. So flying all around the world, having these amazing experiences, and then making like the switch to horticulture must have, I don't know if it felt scary, but for some people, like I get messages from people all the time saying, I don't really know how to get into horticulture. I don't know what career path to take. It can be a little bit scary. Do you have any guidance or advice for anyone who's thinking of switching careers from something else into horticulture?
Because also, can I just slide in there? Because also it might be difficult financially as well for some. So if you can add in a dribble of that advice as well, that would be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I mean, obviously the world of horticulture, I did take a pay cut as well. So there was a lot of sacrifice. I lived probably quite a basic lifestyle, but that to me was, the way I looked at it was that was my education. So rather than paying to go to college, I was doing my training on the job. But it was really scary, because I think for me, my biggest worry was that I wasn't going to be able to cope with the amount of work and the physicality of it throughout the seasons, because it is hard. Like, I'm not going to say that it's the easiest job I've ever done, because when you're outside in the snow and you're digging in the freezing cold and your feet feel like they're going to fall off, you have to have passion and love to get you through those days, because it can be quite brutal. And that is the honesty of working in a garden or a kitchen garden or any kind of garden. It is manual, and, my hand aches at the end of the day, and I sit there with a little massage machine that I got for Christmas, and I think, but it was all worth it, because I grew the best courgette this week. But I think it is that, if you're passionate and you believe in yourself, and I think to me that's the key, is just believing that what you can do, that you can achieve anything you want to. And yes, you do have to start off, and I did take a pay cut, but if you work hard, and I was studying all hours, God sent, and then eventually now I'm getting to a better role, and
it's not all about money. It's about
absolutely not
what makes you feel good as well, as long as you can afford to
live. And I think I would rather eat rice for a week, for months, and do something that I love than the money. That means absolutely nothing to me, because at the end of the day, happiness is, it's where you find peace, isn't it? And I can honestly say, living that sort of lifestyle as being an air hostess and traveling all over the world, you do get anxiety, tiredness, jet lag, emotional. And I would say that since leaving, I've probably not been so stable, because every day I wake up and I skip into work, and I absolutely love it. Although I am slightly worried about Wednesday, because this heat wave, I feel like, could be quite
Is
testing.
Wednesday the pinnacle of it, is it?
I don't know. It looks like it could be. And I'm going to be, there is nowhere to hide in that vegetable garden. So you may find me frazzled in a corner somewhere.
Set up a marquee that follows you around. Yeah.
Oh, yes. A little gazebo would be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
My mother-in-law brought me this fan thing that goes around your neck. It's terrible, and it's really heavy, but it's amazing. It looks really stupid, but when you put it around your neck and it's just blowing cool air on you, it makes all the difference.
Or one of those, what are those little umbrella hats that you see when you go on holiday to the beach, and you just, it looks like a little umbrella. That would be quite fun. I don't know whether I'd get away with that at work.
No, I'm not sure that would really fit in with the look of Le Manoir, to be fair. And something that is always on your socials and that you're clearly passionate about is getting children into gardening, with the work that you do, and your girls as well. Like they're always out in the garden foraging and picking things, and with your chickens. It's so lovely to see. The enjoyment in their faces is so obvious. How important is that to you, to be gardening with your children, and how important is that, do you think, for future generations in general?
To me, I think it's been really interesting, that journey with the children, because Winnie was only 2 when I started growing, and Posey was 4. So they were quite new at the beginning of my journey as well, obviously new to the world, but they didn't really eat lots of vegetables either. So I think that that's something that's really made me passionate about the growing as well. So seeing their connection change with food, seeing, them going from not really eating potatoes to growing their own and then digging them up like buried treasure, and seeing the happiness on their face when they've grown this produce and then they get to cook it, and seeing them then eating it, whereas they didn't before. I think that really is where my connection with growing has probably peaked as well. And that's where I wanted to then work with the children, because I just feel like my generation particularly, I didn't really know much about growing. And, I just thought that food was from the shops. I didn't really consider where it had come from and where, how it's grown or anything like that. So I really try and teach the girls every process of the stage, and to appreciate food and to understand that, when they leave food on their plate, somebody's grown that, or somebody's, worked really hard to produce that food, that it's not just something to throw in the bin, that, we need to appreciate everything around us. And I think that by doing the garden, creating their food, they understand that it's not just a throwaway element of everyday society. It is, there's a third person. There is somebody behind every element of that. And that's what I try and really bring to life with them. And then, if they don't eat a particular vegetable, then I'll grow colourful beetroots or Winnie. I can always, honestly, I have this one dahlia that I love in the garden, the big dinner plate pink ones. Yeah. And I just love looking at them. And then every year, without fail, the first flower that comes, I'll see Winnie trotting across the garden, eating it like a lollipop on a stick. And I'm like, oh, so they love eating the edible flowers, and it kind of has stopped them being so fussy. I feel like that whole process has taught them to appreciate and taste and experiment more.
That's really
How beautiful. Honestly, the photographs are always so lovely, and the reels of them there, like you can see that they're completely immersed in the garden, and it's lovely to see.
So what's next on your agenda, August? Obviously, August is coming up, so that is your month.
Oh, it is.
Is that when you really come to life?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I've got loads of fun things. I'm doing the Happy Place Festival in August, so that'll be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that. So I've got a workshop, one in Chiswick, and then in September I've got another one. Lots of gardening schools throughout the whole of August, and then obviously birthday parties. Although I'm not going to tell you how old I am because I'm prehistoric now. But yeah, I mean, it is the best. Actually, I don't know if it is the best month in the garden. I always actually quite like September, because I feel like, all the dahlias and the zinnias are out, and then you start seeing like the squashes growing and growing. So I'd say September's probably my best month in the garden. But yeah, it will be a fun-filled month. But I think more talks and sharing that love of growing with everybody potentially.
That's so cool. And you're so refreshing.
Sorry. Yeah, you are completely. You are totally infectious to talk to. It's fabulous.
Yeah, definitely.
And also at the beginning you said about studying as well. So what are you studying too? How do you fit this all in? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yesterday I was very stressed because I had an essay due in today. So I thought I can't relax until it's done. But so I think this whole process is kind of, because I've studied horticulture, which I do intend on studying in depth a little bit more. But it's kind of led me into this environmental area where I suppose really after flying for 20 years and dumping emissions all over the planet and not thinking about recycling or considering my impact on the planet whatsoever, I felt really ignorant. And I think the more you delve into gardening, the more you realise how connected we are. And people had asked me questions and I think, I have no idea. I didn't even know that, by me not recycling my clothing was going to have such a massive, huge impact on the world and the carbon emissions and things like that. And I think from feeling so stupid because I didn't have a clue has really pushed me forward into studying and learning more, not just for me, but for the kids and for obviously my page, which I do share a lot of my passion and everything with. But I think as well, I've never in my life really wanted to learn. When I was at school, I just sort of did it because I had to and that was it. But now I've got this overwhelming love for something that I want to know everything about it. So studying environmental studies, and the more I'm studying it, the more it's so connected to everything that we do as gardeners, and it's all so important. So I think that that's something that I'd really like to focus on in the future as well, is, how can I make a difference, or how can my children make a difference? And by me teaching them, hopefully they're not going to grow up as stupid as I was.
It's just a
I'm
different
sure
time,
you were
isn't it?
not stupid, August.
Wow, I don't know.
You
I mean, I probably took about 12 hours to work out which bin am I supposed to put that in.
We all did. Do you remember when we first got the recycle bin? So you would have like your waste bin and your recycle bin, and then there would be like a sign that would say all the things you could put in it. And this was like however many years ago. And I used to go and look at that like a million times more. Can I put this in there? I don't understand. Like, it took ages, and everyone was like, do we have to have recycling and waste? But now it's just all very natural.
Yeah, it's very natural. It has changed. Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and opening up the series A. It's been such a pleasure, and I think this is a lovely one because people do often talk about career changing, and they've found their passion for gardening one way or another, but they work in a completely different industry and they don't really know how to switch in. So I think this is a really lovely, encouraging podcast to help anyone to do it and follow your passion. And what you were saying also about kind of just getting opportunities. I think when you follow your passion, the opportunities do come because you're doing something that you love
absolutely.
so much. And then when you share that passion like you do, opportunities come to you and they come at the right time.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's like everything aligns because you're sort of living in that space that makes you so happy, and you're clearly doing that now. So it's lovely.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many avenues within horticulture. You don't have to go into horticulture or gardening and think, I'm going to be a gardener, because you could, like you do all those beautiful workshops and you talk about it. There is an area within horticulture, I think, for everybody, if that's your passion, and you can find your little niche. Takes a little bit of time to figure out what you like to do as well. And I think there's something for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. Like, horticulture is a massive industry, isn't it? I think once you learn about it, you realise, you have to be a scientist. You have to know English, maybe even a bit of Latin. Not that you have to, but you do, and maths and geography and maybe history. Like, there's so much, and there's so many avenues that you can go down that there's definitely space for absolutely everybody. So yeah, if anyone's listening to this and you fancy switching in to horticulture, then absolutely go for it. And in the meantime, follow August on Instagram.
Thank you so much for joining us today, darling.
Yeah. Thank you for joining
both
us
so much. It's been so lovely to chat to you, and hopefully we'll see each other soon in real life for another drink.
Absolutely.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
See you, darling.
Bye.
Hello there everyone, my name is Peter. I am working for a Dutch flower export company. I'm 45 years young and I've already been in the flower business for more than 25 years. 28 years to be exactly. Let me already owe you my apology for the music in the background and the sounds of the trolleys and the trucks. And you know what? We're live at the flower auction in Aalsmeer. So, hey, these sounds are part of what's going on here. So you asked me to give you some information of what's going on at the flower auction, what's new, what's fancy, what's nice. Well, let me start with this variety. It's called Petit Lotus Matilda. It's a more hot pink looking flower which has like the shape of a pyramid. Then we have the Tagetes Marigold, yellow color. We have, of course, the purple Liatris, famous old flower. We have the Salvia. I think everybody knows this as well as a plant. Craspedia in many shapes and varieties. Oxypetalum blue, pink, white. What else do we have here? We have the orange marigolds. Right here. We have 3 shapes of heliopsis, which kind of look like a chrysanthemum, but it's not. And all 3 kinds have sort of, fall colors. Very funny. The fun part is that, we're not even in the summer, and the first fall varieties are starting to come already. What else do we have? Of course, we have a lot of cosmos in many different colors. Monarda. We have artichokes in spray, and we have them in single stems. We have the oreganum in pink and purple. Of course, the smelling mentayocca. We have the ageratums. We have the helichrysums, which can be used for dry flowers, but also for the fresh flowers. What else do we have? There's so many things to see, so unfortunately, all of you cannot see what I see. Maybe my friend Plant Geek knows this, but it's called Lonaria. It's a pink flower which looks like between a dianthus and something else. It's funny, I've never seen it before. What else do we have? Of course, I can see viburnums, hydrangeas, mini gerberas, big gerberas, hanging amaranthus, crocosmias. Enough to choose from. Pink salvia, chelonis, Sanguisorba in pink and in green, big purple alliums, the green seeded alliums. Oh my god, it's amazing. So many varieties you can choose from here at the flower auction. And again, too bad I can't show it to you all visually. But I hope I kinda get the visage or the visuals by voice. What else? Well, Astilbes. We have the Dutch Astrantias, of course. Asclepias. Many colors. I love the Asclepia Beatrix. That's my favorite, which is the orange ones. Well, I think that's a little bit it. And Mike, I hope I gave you a little bit of an idea of what's going on in the auction. And, maybe we should do that once in a live version with visual. So I wish you all a great weekend and see you soon.
Everything produced by Florette, sponsors of Series 8 of the podcast, is grown by a network of passionate local farmers who make quality and freshness their top priority. Whatever the dish, savour the flavour and make it unflorettable.
Well, it hasn't been long, Michael, but welcome to Series 8.
To the flop.
Usually we've had a break between two series, but we're just steaming ahead.
Well, the podcast has become incredibly popular, so we need to feed that desire of everyone personally. So
we need to feed the monster.
Here we are again. But no, we've got August Garden, who we talked to today, is perfect to talk to about obviously salads, vegetables. She's a great career switcher as well, because she started with a really, really different career to what she does now, which is, I find, completely inspirational. A lot of people, I know we both get lots of messages of people that are in completely different careers, and they're like, oh, I really want to get into plants and horticulture. And sometimes they can't see that it's possible, but it really is. And I think August is one of the best examples I've ever seen, to be honest. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that kind of interview with her. And we also want to introduce our new sponsor because we are in Series 8 now. And our sponsor is Florette. Is it Series 8, Ellen?
It is Series 8, yeah.
It is.
we teased this sponsor last week, didn't we? I can't remember what we said now. We were saying you can...
we were typically cryptic. You can put it in Bolognese.
Anyway, it is Florette, the salad producers. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more, Michael.
Yeah, defo. So I think, of course, you might be like, oh, why are we working with a salad company when we tell people to grow their own? Well, actually, there's not always the space to grow your own. There's not always the opportunity. You know, you might be someone who's on the go. You haven't got time to water the salad crops, this and that. And if you want to reach for a bag of salad in the supermarket, then I'd really recommend Florette because they've got an amazing range. It's all produced completely sustainably as well. The packaging can be recycled in the supermarket stations too. And of course, within there, you know, I think it's very easy just to look at salad as pieces of lettuce and just kind of like throw away things. But I think we need to completely turn this on its head because high in folate, natural source of vitamin C, high in vitamins A and K as well. And of course, fiber. You know, this is, you know, not just the superfood mixes, but all of those mixes offer something different and they offer that crunch as well. And Ellen and I we're going to look at a few different ways to use the leaves as well, because I think sometimes salad gets such a bad name being this filler on the plate. And I like to use it in different ways to that. And I know you mix a few into your smoothies. I've got a few ideas on how I can mix it through like bolognese or maybe chili, etc., just to kind of add that goodness, bit of texture as well. We do that with spinach. Why not do that with mixes of salad as well? So this is a really, really exciting journey for us, Ellen Mary. And it's quite a high profile sponsor as well. You can walk into the supermarket and you see Florette on the shelves. So I must say, I feel like a bit of a grown-up.
Well, let's
finally
see.
Ellen, a sponsor that our parents would recognize as well, because a lot of them are quite horticultural companies, but now it will be like, oh, Florette, I know. So we're really, really pleased to have them on board. We're actually going to get a behind the scenes look at the salad making facilities, salad growing facilities as well. So that's going to be pretty cool. And they've got a big project on wildflowers. So we're going to weave some of that into our podcast and do a few wildflower specials as well. So yeah, welcome Florette, and welcome back to the conversation, Ellen Mary, because I did talk for
you really
solo
did.
for 5 minutes. I'm so sorry.
I actually started reading the newspaper online.
I was just on one, you know.
No, not really. Of course, that was a lovely introduction to the new sponsor, and I'm definitely looking forward to thinking of some new ways to cook with lettuce. You actually said to me, "Oh, I'm going to put mine in a bolognese," and I was like, "In the bolognese?" So you know, this is a good opportunity.
I love the way you say bolognese. That's so
Bolognese.
cute. Bolognese.
How do you say it? Bolognese. You say bolognese.
For me, it's a silent G.
But it's got a G in it. Who says bolognese?
Me.
Bolognese. But it's bolognese.
Well, no, it's like Ellen Mary gardening with a silent G.
Gardening. What? Where?
Oh my God, you're so good.
Silent G. What?
Oh, goodbye. Ellen, I haven't told you this yet, actually. I had an email the other day that was about you. No, not quite about you. Like I received your school report or something.
You're like my parents.
And it was talking about like an opportunity for us, which I will go through in due course in our meeting. And they started off the email with Ellen Mary, and then by the end of the email, it was Mary Ellen. And I told them, and they were really cute about it. And it was like, I was like, you'll be in trouble.
Do you know what? I get called many things, Michael, but Mary Ellen is the one that really pees me off.
But the thing is, they started off correctly, so I don't know what happened halfway.
I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I've had that before where someone has said Ellen Mary on numerous occasions, and then out of nowhere, they've just said Mary Ellen, and I just like, what? Why? Like, it doesn't say Mary Ellen.
It's like the brain kind of reverts back to it, isn't it?
I know. It's like Perry Michael. Like, why not? It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that sounds exciting, nevertheless, whatever it is.
Hey, Ellen, before we move on, I think this would be a great opportunity to tell me what your school report was like.
Well, it was always very bog standard, I would say.
Bog standard?
Yeah, I think it was just like Ellen's doing well. Ellen is average in her class. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there was anything majorly good or
Strive
bad.
for something more racy.
No, I don't think there was anything racy that I remember. What about yours?
I was proud to boats of silliness. Bouts of silliness, not boats of silliness.
You took a ride on the silly boat.
No, my history teacher in particular says I was prone to bouts of silliness, even though I was, like, quite intelligent when I actually sat still and concentrated.
Bouts of silliness in what way? As in being silly or not understanding the study?
Well, no, just like obviously just messing around all the time. And like, I don't know. You know when you used to swing on your chair, etc., all of that jazz.
Honestly, Michael, that doesn't surprise me. I would have assumed you would be slightly naughty at some point.
Oh, honestly, Ellen. Ding to the dong.
I was rubbish at languages, though. I failed French. I got an E? Oh, I don't even remember now, but I was terrible at French. And my report for French would have been not very good because I didn't like the teacher at all.
Oh, really? Oh, no. I used to hate that because it was like, you had to like speak out in class, and that was always like so embarrassing, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I hated all of that. So yeah, I wouldn't have, I don't know. But I think just generally bog standard, That's me, bog standard, miss average.
Hardly.
I don't know what happened. Anyway, we only recorded the gossip for last week's show like a few days ago, so we feel a bit like we've already had a really good catch up.
Yeah, but I have to say, like, a lot has still happened in my life between then and then. Every day is packed.
Days? Oh yeah, okay. So tell me something that's magical that's happened over the last day.
I'm feeling kind of, it's the sort of thing I feel really good about, but no one else would understand. And it's just, I've finally just tidied my plants and my garage, and it just feels amazing because I feel like I'm just on top of the world.
Why would you think no one else would understand that?
I'm ready to make it a mess again, but
I totally understand that. It's an amazing feeling when you've had a good tidy up and sorted your house plants and all of that. It's lovely. It's like just like we mentioned it last week. It's just one of those boring things that you never get around to. But then when you've done it, you feel good you've done it.
I'm still here, and all the time I'm just kind of just sitting still and just looking around. It's like, oh, this is nice. But then actually getting on with stuff like at a good pace, which is good. So I kind of really needed this. It's just been mad since like February, and now I've can finally get around to some stuff here and there. I've just done a few really cool medleys with houseplants and outdoor plants, which look really cool. I've got some mushrooms to grow as well. Yeah. I've got another bag of the Cayley Brothers mushrooms on the go, actually. I didn't know which side to cut, so I cut both sides. So I'm hoping to get double mushroom.
I think it's just one side. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the spores are at the front and the back. I don't know. Like,
but I've also, Ellen, have you seen? I've got my worm farm. Oh my God.
Did you feel slightly queasy when you saw the worms? Because you're not keen, are you?
Yeah, it's really weird. And like, have you seen this? You've seen it? It's like this little portable thing, and it has like obviously all the layers inside, and then the lid and stuff. And you have this like moisture layer then on the top that you keep in there at all times. But like, I open the lid to kind of have a look, but they kind of like they crawl like above the moisture layer. So like sometimes like some of them are in the lid of the thing when you lift it up.
Right.
I'm like,
okay.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
What are you doing? How dare you?
Get back in there and eat the cabbage. You don't want to be here eating the plastic lid. Do you know what I mean? And not scaring me. I don't know. It's weird. Yesterday in the wild, this is related to worms, I promise. Okay. There was a wild snake.
What type of snake? A grass snake?
It felt, I don't know, it felt fairly, maybe a grass one. It felt fairly big, but not so wide, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so probably a grass snake. I mean, like in the UK, you're unlikely to see much more than a grass snake or an adder, I believe. Where I am in NC, some of the snakes are mammoth, and I do mean mammoth, like huge. And there's quite a large variety, but there's only a couple that are venomous, so you're generally like, okay.
I could deal with spiders everywhere, but snakes and worms, no. It's just...
I'm not keen on snakes.
No, not. Are you cool with spiders or not?
A bit, yeah. I mean, I don't want them in my house specifically, but I'm not really freaked out too much. I've been bitten by spiders so many times gardening and in the shed and stuff that I'm not too worried. But I don't really like snakes. No, thank
it's
you.
Disgusting. Oh my God. So
but
anyway,
really good.
Got the amazing worm farm. So that's the end of my story on that.
All right, so basically, since we last spoke, you've tidied all of your houseplants in your garage and you've set up a worm farm. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, true. I still need to sort my borders and because all my flowers, everything just falls over and then I can't walk anywhere. It's just like, what? And it's quite shocking how dry the soil actually gets in the garden. And it's funny because it's such a learning curve, because some of the stuff that I'd planted there last year it's turned out to be a bit too dry for it. So last year it was kind of happy in its first year, but it's kind of just dwindled a bit this year. So I'm like, I've got a lot of gaps. But my front garden hasn't got many gaps. Oh my God. Did you see the drama of the weekend though?
Well, I saw the drama because you posted about the drama.
Yeah, what was her name? Julie something. Oh, obviously I wouldn't.
Oh, you're actually naming and shaming. Oh my God.
No, Julie something. But people are so venomous about certain things, aren't they? And
tell us about it. Come on, I feel like you need to get it off your chest.
Well, no. My front garden, you've seen it, Ellen. It's kind of a gorgeous Pete Oldolph kind of landscape. With it's kind of like prairie planting, and everything's now almost about 5 feet in height. And I love the balance of how it kind of gives privacy, but it's not blocking out light. And it's tall verbena bonariensis, I don't know, Calamagrostis, fennel as well, bronze fennel. And it's funny how it really divides opinion online, and kind of, a lot of people are used to seeing stuff that's very manicured and that's stuff that they can comprehend a bit more. And this looks to them like a jungle. And even the people that were nice about it still use phrases like, it's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. How is it possibly a mess that you can have plants in their prime, big, happy, growing well? How is that a mess, Ellen Mary?
It's like a compliment, but not a compliment. It's like giving you the compliment and then taking it away again.
So this Julie something, she said, to be blunt, it looks a mess.
If that's her opinion, then that's her opinion.
It's just
that's
so bizarre. But the way people put opinions across, because I'm sure you get this with some stuff, but for me as well, with obviously, it's gonna sound funny, but I've obviously got a moustache at the moment and not a beard, and people are really quite territorial about that. It's you look rubbish with just a moustache, or you should definitely get the beard. And it's people are really free and easy with their opinion on someone's face. You know what I mean? Let alone their front garden.
Did you ask for their opinion? That's the key. If you said, what do you think of my front garden? Then you're going to get some that don't like it.
Yeah, but there's still
reason.
Ways to put it across. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It sounds like the kind of response my mum would give, just totally to the point. No, I think it's yes. That's it,
Honestly.
I think when you're out there online, you're always going to get stuff. There was something the other day that was really funny. I was I posted a reel about earthing, and all it was don't forget to do this while you're gardening. And I was standing with my shoes off. It was that basic.
Yeah.
So earthing yourself. And then someone posts, I bet you £100 she drives a diesel and doesn't have an air source heat pump. Yeah, and I was like, right, okay. Just got my socks off. When you're online, this stuff happens.
I do wonder sometimes if there's teams of people that are actually just, paid by some kind of underhand organization just to create unrest online, and they're not actually, Julie something doesn't actually exist. Do you know what I mean? I've always got that suspicion as well.
I feel that's a bit,
I love a conspiracy.
Yeah, I think that's a bit far-fetched, but I think it's probably just Julie giving her opinion on your garden.
There could be teams of people just being bitches online, just to,
Oh, Micah, very funny.
Oh, honestly, Helen.
However, I must say about your moustache, we only chatted a few days ago and it's grown so quickly.
I know, I'm very virile. What can I say? So that's cool. I never worry if I accidentally shave it off or something because it'll be back. Quick steps.
I think I'm going to have a hair chop soon. Definitely. Yeah? It's got so long and straggly.
Bob Thomas.
I had a bob years ago and I did like it, but now I live in North Carolina part of the year. I don't think I can go short because I have really frizzy hair. So when it's short, it just looks like a big bouffant because it gets really big. When you've got long hair,
anyway.
But when it's long, you can just tie it back, And so I think I have to keep it relatively long.
You can still tie it back, but it's still short.
Yeah, so not like a short bob, like a long bob maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. It's time.
You always wear a hat.
Yeah, I could. I do often wear a hat, but I like to have my hair out too.
Oh no, I fully support your rebrand.
I fully support my rebrand. Thank you so much. All right. Well, anyway, Series 8. What have we got coming up in this series?
We've got different contributors as well. So we've got contributors that are going to tell us all sorts of stuff about botanical art, about mushrooms. We got an insider at the Dutch auction houses as well. And we're going to learn about flowers and growing in a country house as well, which is going to be really interesting. So, yeah, loads of contributors, some good interviews lined up as well. Oh, we teased those as keywords last week, didn't we? What was it? Lettuce, sex, aloe, wildflowers, ferment.
And all I wanted to know was, what was the sex episode?
You have to wait exactly 2 weeks for that one, Ellen Mary.
Right, okay.
But yeah, loads coming up. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Great series. Yeah, we've gone full steam ahead rather than taking a break, which must mean that we are on a roll and enjoying it. Well, thank you. Thank you, bye.
The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.